When the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers envisioned the Common Core state standards, one of the goals was that states that adopted these common standards would then be able to benefit from the commonness. That it wasn't each state working individually, it's that we would have a common base for our mathematics and English language arts instruction. To what extent do you think we've taken advantage of that commonness, or how might we do that to better support improving mathematics education?
Well, I think that a critical part of that is the opportunity to develop strong curricular materials that would support this kind of teaching and this kind of student learning. I think that, honestly speaking, that's very much a work in progress. There are a number of books out there that may say that they are Common Core compatible, but that really are not the best materials to use with students, in my opinion. I think that we've been a bit slow in seeing the kind of materials that are optimal, and I think that teachers and curriculum developers are in the process of learning what they need to do to make Common Core a reality. I would like us to look at other models from other countries. Singapore is an obvious example, since it does such a wonderful job with its curriculum materials, and of course not adopt them wholesale, but ask what we can learn from those methods and what we can do to make those ideas useful in our context. It may be also that this is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. I mean, every state, every community values its local control, and I think that makes good sense to me. And so different communities will be looking for different materials, but in the process of doing that, I hope those communities will ask, are the materials really, truly supporting the kind of deep learning of both process and reasoning that's envisioned and that we really want our students to arrive at the end of school having command of, because I'm not convinced that every piece of material that is out there is doing the job.
Yeah, I think you make a very valuable point, that in thinking about instructional materials, it's not just the content in the sense of the mathematics or the sequence of topics, but it's how those topics are treated, the coherence and the connections that are built, but also the kinds of instructional activities that are built in the lessons every day. So, if you look at what's in the instructional materials, do they help teachers engage students in the kind of problem solving and sense making that we know they need to do to develop the conceptual understanding along with the procedural skills that you were talking about earlier?
I think that's a great question. The Common Core standards have one piece which is about content, and they have another piece that's about mathematical practice. And in my opinion, it's critical that those be integrated. So if I see a book that says we're going to work on a mathematical practice standard but doesn't closely integrate it to the content that we're talking about at that grade level, I get pretty nervous. I wonder whether that's really the best way to use classroom time. I would love to see materials that deeply integrate the mathematical practices to the content to achieve student learning. That's always the goal.
Yes, absolutely. And I just couldn't agree with you more that that's what we need to be looking for. NCTM recently issued a new publication, Principles to Actions, Ensuring Mathematical Success for All, where we summarized what we know from research and best practice about effective teaching practices and the supports needed to implement them in schools. And so one of the things that we know is if we want students to develop the kind of deep understanding you're talking about, that we do need to engage them in actually solving problems in class, not just standing up and telling. Or as one of my colleagues would say, teaching isn't telling, right? Told isn't taught. We really need students to experience the mathematics themselves, make sense of it, so that they're making the connections. And so the extent to which we can look at materials that both have a careful development of the content, but also engage kids in the kind of problems that'll help them build those mathematical habits of mind, along with understanding the content, will much better prepare them to be successful in the future.
Oh, I completely agree. I would love for kids to be excited about mathematics. There's a tremendous amount in this broad discipline that's engaging, that's exciting. This is a story of tremendous human progress over millennia, and it's something that kids should be excited about. Well, if they're uncomfortable doing operations, they won't be able to be excited about it. If it's all a bunch of arbitrary rules that someone told them, and if they somehow don't follow the rules, they get marked wrong, and if they do, they get marked right, that's not very engaging. We can do better. But I do believe that mathematics is tremendously exciting and that the right materials will communicate that excitement to children. And in the way they will do that is by developing this strong understanding of what it's all about that allows kids to explore for themselves, to think for themselves, and to really reason mathematically and again get excited about what they're doing.